Thanks for watching. I'm Margot Kimberg, and this is In the Spotlight, a closer look at a crime novel. Some crime novels emphasize the whodunit aspect of a crime, as opposed to perhaps psychology or something else. They focus on things like alibis, clues, red herrings, and can you match wits with the author? Let's take a look at a novel like that today and turn the spotlight on Richard Dallas's A Master Hand, The Story of a Crime. Richard Dallas works at the New York District Attorney's Office. One evening, his friend Arthur White invites him to play cards with three mutual friends, Gilbert Littell, Ned Davis, and Oscar Ramboul. Dallas accepts and the five friends spend the evening together. Early the next morning, White's valet, Butler, goes to Dallas's home to tell him that White has been stabbed. Dallas rushes to the scene and soon learns that the other three men who were there the night before have also been alerted. Detective Miles is on the scene and he begins the investigation. It looks on the surface as though one of White's guests must have committed the crime. That's very hard for Dallas to accept because these were friends of his. And yet, the evidence suggests that's the case. Dallas wants to find out the truth. After all, White was a friend of his too. So he starts asking questions. He soon learns that this case might not be as simple as it seems. There are a few things, like a missing coat, a man looking through the window, and a hat that's not where it belongs, that raise some questions. Soon enough, the police settle on a suspect, White's cousin, Henry Winters. Winters has what used to be called a checkered past, and it was known he was in need of money. The police arrest Winters, but Dallas doesn't think Winters is guilty. He doesn't think the man's a killer, so he continues his own search for the truth. So, what are the elements in this novel? What's woven through it? This is supposedly a true story. Whether it is or not, it's told that way, with Dallas himself, first person, past tense, as narrator. Readers learn what Dallas learns and are invited to put the pieces of the puzzle together. The focus is on the puzzle. This is a classic detective story published in 1903. So, as I say, the emphasis is on how and by whom the murder was committed. Both Detective Miles and Richard Dallas talk to witnesses, follow up on clues, and piece together everyone's alibi. And those details matter. Readers will want to pay attention to where things are, where people were, and so on. The focus here is much more on these things than, say, psychology. The story was written long before the digital age or even the age of a lot of telephone use, so the sleuths do a lot of legwork to get their answers. That said, though, it doesn't mean that the characters have no presence in the novel. At the beginning of the story, Dallas describes each of the people present on the night of the murder, and we learn a little about them. As the story goes on, we learn a little more about all of the characters. Dallas works for the Attorney General's office, so there's also the legal element in this story. There's the question of what counts as circumstantial evidence and how valuable it is. There are also courtroom scenes as Winters goes on trial. In those scenes, both of the sides try to sway the jury. There's no real grit or explicitness in the story, but you couldn't really call this a light, upbeat read. Dallas is hit very hard by his friend's murder, and their mutual friends are deeply affected. And while the truth comes out, that doesn't mean everything is back to normal. A Master Hand, The Story of a Crime, is a classic whodunit. It features a New York setting, a puzzling case full of clues, alibis, and so on, and a protagonist whose search for the truth calls him to question a lot of what he thinks he knows. This has been In the Spotlight. I'm Margot Kimberg. Thanks for watching.